Mambition moments. Welcome back, it's your girl Tiffany. Hooray! So yeah, I still have a cold. I think I've had a cold forever. My 3-year-old daughter loves carrying germs around and giving it to me. So there you go. So guys, for this episode, I want to talk about 5 things I did before I had children that still pay off every single day in my life. Number one, solo travel. Now, prior to having children, I remember quitting my job. I got a backpack and I went and I traveled around Europe. That was, I think, around 10 years ago now. It was one of the best times of my life. Prior to that, I wasn't actually the type of person that wanted to go backpacking, but I'm so glad that I pinpointed it at something worth doing and I did it. And obviously, I didn't know that motherhood was coming, 10 years after that or anything. But I'm so glad I did it simply because of the experiences I had, the novelty that it was as well for someone like me who at the time was quite traditional, quite like structured, thought backpacking was for other people and not myself. I'm so glad that I pinpointed that novel thing and I did it because now I look back on my life and I'm glad that I've built that muscle of being able to do things that I want to do or things that are a little bit different, things that are not the norm for me. And I think that's quite an important skill or muscle to build, especially as a mother. And now it really feels my motherhood journey in a mixing adventure because I'm the sort of person that would just take the kids and take them anywhere. Like I would literally just take them anywhere. We just go everywhere. We meet people simply because I don't need to wait for someone else to come along or for someone else to join us or for someone else to want to do this thing with us. I just go. And it just makes everything a bit more fun, makes motherhood a bit more of an adventure and more something that I'm on the journey with my children for, not just something I give them, but something that I actually get something from. So yeah, solo travel has to be number one. Number two thing I did before children that pay off, taking career risks. Now, again, just over 10 years ago or more now, actually, I'm probably, thinking I'm much younger than I am. I was in a role that was turned out to be, quite not a good environment anymore. Everything changed, my manager left and then it became quite toxic and I left that company. I decided I was going to start my own. To be quite honest with you guys, I didn't really know what I was doing at the time, but I was like, I was convinced I could do it, like run my own business. It didn't go as well as I wanted to, but to be fair, that was not the point. I mean, I made enough money to live well and I was always quite frugal, so that helped me. And I also had an eBay business that I was doing at the time. And I just remember doing different things. And like I said, I did a backpacking and stuff. So I think what that really developed in me is this ability to like see opportunity, to not just be fixated on things being like stable. I think I'm the sort of person that can take risks. I'm the sort of person that will do what makes sense for like the version of me on my deathbed. Sorry, I know I talk about my deathbed a lot, but like I think I like that about myself. I'm not someone who's looking for like safety or the norm. I'm just looking to have a great life and be more me, whatever that is. And I think taking those career risks before children now means that now that I'm a mum, I'm more willing to do things that fit this version of myself, this version of myself that wants to be around as much as possible while the kids are young. My kids are now 3 and 5, and I've had a wonderful time with them. When my son was born, he's 5, I started a business, because I knew I wanted flexibility. I wanted to be in the house with him as much as possible, or going out and doing things, but I wanted to be around him as much as possible. I didn't want to be in a role when I had to, clock out at 5 or go in at 9 and be away from him. I didn't want that. And don't get me wrong, our kids have gone to nursery since they were very little. But the point is that it just gave me that flexibility. Like I could take him to a park on a Monday morning. We could go anywhere we wanted because I was running my own business. And I think when you become a mum, your priority shifts. You generally want to be around as much as possible. And being able to take career risks early on and building that into my sort of like mentality, it made it easy to like pivot whenever I need. So that, that sort of mentality didn't just start with this podcast, Mambition. It started years ago, prior to before children, when I started thinking, as my life, as my career, as something that is fluid and will change depending on the chapters. So that's where I've arrived. So, and who knows what's next for me, right? Um, I'm certainly someone who's always open to new and interesting opportunities and ventures. Number three thing I built before I had kids was financial discipline. Now, like, I feel like I could be the poster child for like delayed gratification, frugality. Like, I could literally be on the poster, like, and it's not always something that, I love so much, because sometimes I wish I could just buy things, just spend and not care. And I don't know where it comes from, but I mean, I know it comes from like my dad growing up. My dad was quite frugal, and I don't know why. Like, me and my sister, for example, we just went down the frugal route. I've observed how my dad was with money. But my other siblings, they just spend, they just buy like the best things that they want, and they just live their life. But I'm here like super frugal, super like able to delay my gratification. But you know what? I think it's paid off for me well, because knowing the difference between what I want and what I need has actually been something that has improved the quality of my life. Just because, well, for example, when I first started my business years ago and I didn't know what I was doing, I didn't make money for a while. I was able to sustain that because I was good with money, because I had saved some money. And so there are times when that's paid off for me. And I think also when you become a parent, that's, I think it exposes your relationship with money a bit, because it's easy to, sorry guys, I'm just pouring my coffee, because, ain't no one trying to live on no coffee around here. Cheers to a thermal flask. There you go. But yeah, I think what it did for me was motherhood exposes your relationship with money. And I think for so many of us, and it's not easy thing to not do, but you want to like, depending on what childhood you have, you may want to buy a lot of presents for your children, and I don't know, like fix something that maybe happened in your childhood by thinking, I want to buy all the toys for them, it'll make them happy, and I want to make sure that they have, because they have toys, they have everything they could ever want. But I've learned that getting everything you want doesn't necessarily make you happy. So for me, just having that sort of relationship with money has been mostly good, just because now I can look at my children and I'm like, yes, they can have, some incredible toys, but I'm much more intentional about how we spend money. I'm like, okay, I want you guys to travel, and I love traveling, so we're traveling. And when it comes to traveling, the money's not a problem. We will spend the money, but we will travel with that money. We're not just going to buy stuff that we won't use as much. But I'm also fortunate. I'm fortunate because they have great grandparents who love buying toys. So I'm like, hooray. The grandparents, they've allowed me to continue being frugal because they love buying them toys. I'm like, yeah, hey, you guys buy the toys. Don't share this with them. You guys buy the toys, and I'll pay for the experiences, because that's so important to me. I think, the people that they become in, the way that they communicate, the confidence, the ability to, to have like diversity of thoughts, see the world, learn different cultural things, understand cultural nuance, hear different languages. That is like, that excites me for them. So, and that's something I want them to have. So when it comes to that, money is good. But everything else, I'm like, I've just seen them. I mean, I've seen them open toys and play with a box. I'm like, I'm not wasting my money on you, kid. So now, when it comes to buying toys, I'm like, I ain't trying to, I ain't trying to buy you a toy, because I know I've seen these kids. 10 minutes later, they're not playing with the toy. They're not interested. And I'm like, spent money on that. So what I do now is, yeah, when it comes to toys, I think about it before I buy it, because I'm like, are you generally going to play with this? Because I've seen it far too many times. Um, and I think another thing I've actually done as well that's paid off for me is that I make it a normal thing that when we go to a shop or we go somewhere, I don't always buy them things. And because I've consistently done that over the years, where we go to a museum, we come out, there's a cafe or like a museum shop, and I won't buy anything. My children now can walk through like a cafe or shop in a museum and not expect to be bought something. And I love that so much, because then it's like, if they do get it, it's a treat rather than expecting you to buy something. Because I'm like, no, no, we're here for the museum. And because of that also, we have passes for everywhere. I have passes for every museum you can imagine, simply because, again, I land on the fact that it's all about the experiences. Right, number 4 thing I did before I had children that still pays off for me: learning to enjoy my own company. Child, I've spent a lot of time with myself. And yes, yes, I won't lie. Um, there were some chapters in my life where it was more on the sad side of being by myself. And I remember at university I went for a very, very dark time. Oh, it was awful. Just been like just struggling. And it was probably depression at the time, but I probably didn't want to name it. And I remember seeing a counselor for it, and I had a very difficult time. I just wanted to be by myself. I was struggling with like spending time with my friends. And yeah, university was a sad time for me. But beyond that, I'm someone who generally enjoys being by themselves, and I enjoy my own company. Like, I have a high threshold for solitude. I think it would probably take a few months of me being by myself to feel lonely. Okay, maybe not months. That could be a lie. I could be lying because, I'm in the comfort of my house with Netflix, whatever. But the bottom line is, I like being by myself. Like, I entertain myself. I like being alone a lot. And I don't get lonely easily. Like, it's not for me a sad thing. It's like I'm just by myself, and it's nice. So now, when my kids go off and do their own thing, which they're starting to want to do, my son's 5 and my daughter's 3, they love their friends, they love their family, they love the grandparents, they love spending time with like other friends. And I can see that in them, like there's a spark there, like want to be with other people. And I'm generally fine now if they go off and do that with those people and I'm alone. And I'm actually quite happy. I'll go to the gym, or I'll, do some work, or record a podcast, or meet up with a friend. And I think just being able to be alone without your kids and not feel like distressed about it, as long as they're happy and having a good time, I think that's something that is good for mothers, simply because, motherhood is so encompassing. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, I love it. I love the fact that, motherhood has eroded my identity. Like, I'm here for it, right? I'm happy to make sacrifices. I know staying in is a new going out. I know that. Like, I get it, right? We've got to go in on this. Like, this is really leaning in on this. But the bottom line is, like, enjoy your own company when your kids are away and they're happy. To the point now where when the kids are away, I rarely will call them. Like, if they're away with friends or family for the day, I would rarely call them, because what I find is when I'm calling them, I'm only doing it to get something out of it. My kids are generally happy enough to be having a good time. They don't need me to call them. That when I call them, sometimes it feels like I'm interrupting the fun that they're having over there. And it's just like, they're just like, oh, mummy. And they're like, you can tell they're having fun. And they're thinking, why is she calling? It's more for me. So what I've learned that is, even if I do want to call them just to like say hello, I make it call short, I make it fun. I pour banana on my head or something, and I just make it like a quick 30-second, 1-minute laugh, and then we'll leave it at that. I don't need to have a long call with them like, what are you doing? Are you okay? Like, they don't care. They're 3 and 5. They're having fun. To the point where, even recently, my son was like, Mummy, when I'm at granddad's house, I'm not thinking about I'm busy having fun, that I don't think about love. And what he was trying to say to me was that when he's there, he's generally having a good time. He's not thinking about like me. And that to me, it's not offensive. It's like he's having fun over there. And the way I see is, we are ultimately wanting to raise strong, independent children, right? So this is just a rite of passage to start that process. And I think in years to come, when my children are able to be by themselves and be happy wherever they are, and still be in relationships with other people, but still happy alone, like, I'll be glad. And I think maybe this is the years of potentially building that on a small scale. Yeah. Number five thing that I did before I became a mum: investing in myself. Now, this is a huge one for me. Simply because I think when you become a mother, like, again, we get this like, sacrificial, like, I don't know, like, energy imposed on us. And I get it, right? We've got to sustain these children. Like, you do have to give up something. I know that. I know you can't go clubbing every night. And I know you can't, just do what you want. And, it's not about you anymore, blah, blah. I get that. But for me, it's like, I'm still see that the makes sense. I'm still able to pour, and pour back into my. Always see it like that. yes, I'm gonna give up. I'm gonna give up. I'm depleted, and I'm sad or anxious giving without having something. It's gonna affect them. They're not gonna get the best mother they can have if I'm like empty and running like just running empty. So I do take time to like look at life like that, and I'm like, hey, I'm joining the gym. I'm gonna pay for that, and it's gonna be great. I'm gonna go, even if I'm just gonna go to the gym. I'm going to invest in education experiences. I'm going to invest in having friendships because the person that I am outside of being a mum adds value to the mother that I am. And I think that's important. You hear stories. I mean, we had someone on the podcast, on Mambition podcast, not a while ago, and she said how she always kind of saw in her life how her mother lived for her and her siblings to the point when they left home and grew up and became independent. It felt like they were taking a piece of their mother with them, and I thought that's so sad. But you can only see those things in hindsight. It's so easy to actually become that person when you become a mum, and I get it. But I just refuse to do that. I refuse to live like that. I want to be the mother that has something to give my children, and I can only do that if I'm pouring into me. And I think about again, you know, the mother that they need will change with time. Right now I'm a full-time entertainer, like literally for my daughter. My daughter's 3, she's a clown and she wants entertainment all day, so I've got to bring the energy all day. But full-time entertainer, full-time snack provider, full-time, like making sure everything's okay for school and, uniforms and everything's just like, logistics. Today we've got a doctor's appointment, we've got a dentist appointment. I've got to make sure all that happens and, everyone's back from school at the right time for all that. So that's my job right now. But as time goes, that will change. There will come a time when they start to have friendships and they need a confidant or someone who's going to tell them that, I don't know, life lessons about friendships and relationships. Someone who's going to sit with them when they're sad and not drown in their sadness, but feel the sadness, but still pick them up in that sadness. They're going to need an advocate. If something happens in school, they've been picked on, or there's an issue in school, someone who can go in and advocate for them and be confident. And I feel like that person has been built in the things I do outside of motherhood. That's why I refuse to stop those things, because when my children can only thrive if I'm thriving in life. So I think, again, that belief didn't start with motherhood. It started before, but I can now see it now that I'm a mum. When I was doing all these things, traveling, starting a business, building financial discipline, I didn't do them because I was preparing, because I didn't actually know that. I didn't know when I would become a mom or how it would happen, but I did them at the time because it felt right. It felt like they were things that I needed to live a full life and to live more like me. And I wasn't waiting for the right time or the right conditions. I just felt like I was living life and just squeezing every lemon juice out of every lemon. And now I'm here on the other side. I'm a mother and I understand something now that I didn't understand then. The woman I am and the woman I've built before my children, she is able to show up for them every single day, not despite of everything before them. I built this before them. So guys, thank you. That's it. 5 things. Thanks for watching, for listening, for joining me, for putting up with me. I'm having fun. You can find me on Mambition podcast and on LinkedIn. Let's be friends. All right. See you on the next one. Cheerio.